Hey, it's Mike over at fishyourassoff.com, and today what we're talking about is scents in the water that attract and repel fish. So what we're going to cover, the smells you want on your baits and lures and fishing line, and the smells that you do not want on your baits and lures and your fishing line. Because all those are very important when it comes to catching a fish. You know, you got to remember something about fish. They have a few senses that they're going to use to find their prey, right? Because what we're going for is predators. That's the fish we're seeking. So they can see it with their eyes. Well, what if the water's murky or it's dark? They can't use that one. They can feel it / hear it with their lateral lines, which is just the motion of your lure or bait in the water. Well, what if you're fishing with dead bait? Okay? Or they can smell it. So I believe that the most important sense that a fish uses to find something to eat is its sense of smell. Sure, the other ones are going to help too, but I think the sense of smell is the best one to get a fish to eat. Why do you think that dead baits work so well? Fresh dead baits work so well to catch fish. It's not moving. They don't really see it. They smell it. You can put it in the water and you can attract fish from miles away with a decent chum line or anything like that if you're offshore. Inshore it's even better because there's less volume of water to attract all those fish to you. So the sense of smell is what a fish really uses. And that sense of smell is so much more evolved than most creatures. You know, for instance, a bloodhound, I've heard different numbers, but anywhere between 400 and 600 times the smelling capabilities that a bloodhound has over a human. Well, we've all heard the stories about a shark can detect 1 drop of blood in an Olympic-sized fishing pool. Well, that equates to many, many multiples of what a bloodhound can do as far as finding scent molecules in the water. In fact, I've heard that a fish can smell up to 1,000 times better than a bloodhound. So how much better is that than a human? Quite a bit. So my point is, it's very important that whatever you're fishing with smells right. So even if it smells, let me just go ahead and rephrase that. Make sure it doesn't smell wrong, for sure, because you will not get any bites if your bait smells wrong. So if your bait smells neutral or smells great, you're fine. But if your bait smells wrong, you ain't catching any fish, and it's as simple as that. We've all been on a boat where this guy right here is killing it, and you're 3 feet from him, and you're not catching anything. You're like, what the heck? You know, I'm tying my thing, I'm tying my knots, I'm doing all these things just like he is. Why is he catching fish and I'm not? Well, it might be because you're putting some stink on your stuff, bad stink, and he's putting good stink. Maybe he's the guy that cut the baits. Maybe he's the guy that's grabbing all the live baits. Maybe you put sunscreen or bug spray on you with your hands and forgot to wipe it off. We're going to cover all that right now, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, scents that attract and repel fish. You want the right odors on your baits, in other words. The things that attract them: salt. Freshwater and saltwater species are attracted to salt. Fish extracts and oils. That's why they use menhaden oil and things like that when they're with chum, when you buy chum. It's those smells. Those are natural fish smells. That makes perfect sense. Fish slime is another one. This one doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's been proven that it actually helps, at the very least, neutralizes bad odors that are going to repel fish, and that's human saliva. And just about all of us, when we tire it out, we wet it and cinch it down. It's a good thing to do. Human saliva. Now these ones is anecdotal evidence, that I've found for years. When I was a kid, the big time bass fishermen, they throw all their plastic worms and stuff in coffee. Now plastic stinks. They didn't have scented baits back then when I was a kid. So I think it might have a lot to do with the coffee just kind of offsetting the smell of the plastic, because plastic isn't natural and they don't want to smell that. They can smell it as something natural. Cheese. Cheese is another one. Man, I had a guy tell me one time, I was talking to him, we were snook fishing, and he's like, yeah, man, one time I ran out of bait, and all I had left was some cheese I was eating, so I poked a piece of cheese on there, I threw it out to where we were catching the snook, and I caught a snook on a piece of cheese. And I was like, yeah, whatever, man. I never really believed it. But when I researched for this article, this video, well, I wrote an article on this too on the website, but this video, I'm like, cheese and dairy products are one of the things that they consider a fish attractant. So maybe that guy wasn't lying to me. Garlic's another one. They say that it's something that attracts fish, but I believe that it's probably something that really just hides bad odors from fish, things that are going to repel the fish. I mean, that's my theory. But they say garlic too. Now, these are the ones that definitely will make you not catch fish, or at the very least, catch less fish. Sunscreen. Man, sunscreen is so bad, especially that spray stuff that people use. And those little molecules, those odor molecules, get all over your tackle and your bait and your lures. Do not use that stuff anywhere near the boat or near anything you're going to use to fish. If you're going to spray up before you fish, or at the back of the boat, wherever you are, like that. Same with bug spray. Bug spray is another one. Absolutely, a fish isn't going to bite something if it smells like bug spray or sunscreen. Period. Another one. All petroleum distillates. Well, what's a petroleum distillate? All these things on a boat. The marine grease that you use on a boat. Diesel, unleaded gasoline, motor oil. Anything like that that is a petroleum-based distillate is an absolute repellent for fish. Make sure none of it is on your hands. You gotta get that off your hands. Another thing, nicotine. If you're a smoker, those nicotine molecules are on your hand. You gotta get rid of that. Mask it somehow, so wipe some fish on it, or any of those stinky baits like that gulp juice, or any of those scented things to get that off your hand, because the fish can smell that. Remember, 1,000 times more powerful olfactory system than a bloodhound. So just think about that for a second. That fish can smell very well, if that stat's true. So get that nicotine stink off your hands. They don't want it. And here's the one that got me, was human skin oil. So the oil's in your skin. So you can't stop your skin from being oily, because that's part of how our skin works. So you got to just keep in mind to get that stuff off your skin. However you got to do it, wiping it on your shirt. You know, when you get a fish, get some fish slime on your hands. Make sure you handle the baits or whatever you got to do to get these that are absolutely proven repellents off of your hands, so that it doesn't get on your lures, your fishing line, or your baits, because you're going to catch less fish. It's just the way it is. Another one I forgot to put on here is anything scented soaps. So if you're going to clean your hands with something, there's that soap, what is that stuff called? I think it's lava soap. It's made out of pumice. No odor whatsoever, just pumice. And it basically just scrapes the smells off you if you ever used it when you're working on your car or your boat. Just kind of scrapes everything off. It's like liquid sandpaper, but it gets all the stuff off you. So an unscented type of soap is what you want to use. And I just want to show you some basic principles here. All right, so you got the tide moving this way. You're fishing with a dead bait. You got a fish here. It's a redfish, a snook, something just waiting for something to come by it. Well, instead of just sitting here at this ambush point, the tide's going to bring that odor to them, and they're going to come and eat your bait. That's a fresh cut dead bait on the bottom, because it's putting out all these odor molecules in the water. Now a lure, very different. So a lure, there's all the odor molecules coming off of it. So you're twitching your lure in the water, so the fish feels it / hears it. Like, oh, what is that? Gets attracted to it, comes on over, sees it, so now it looks right too. As they get close, it smells right. Well, you just hit all their senses, and they're all like, yeah, this is something yummy and delicious. I should eat this thing. Whereas if it had the other ones that felt it, came over, saw it, it looked good, but then when it got there, it's like, man, that smells like diesel. I don't want that. That's why it is so important to have a proper sense of smell, because I think smell is the most important sense for most fish. And you can tell, some fish have huge eyes, and you're like, yeah, that fish obviously uses his eyesight more. But you have other fish like a redfish or a permit or any of those. A permit and redfish have 4 sets of nostrils. Now, permit have big eyes, so you can tell that sight and smell is important. But like a redfish, they have very small eyes based on their body size. So really just think about smell the next time that you're in there and you're out there fishing. Just make sure you don't have any foreign smells on your hands when you're touching the stuff that the fish are going to smell. You will definitely catch more fish if your bait smells right. Well, even if it smells neutral, you just want to make sure it doesn't smell bad. You don't want any of these repellents, something that looks great, sounds great, / feels great, and it gets up there and like, oh, I'm not eating that. What does that stink? Yeah, make sure none of that's on there. So at the very least, neutral. Have a neutral scent profile. I mean, it's better if it's positive profile. Have a neutral profile. Definitely don't have a negative scent profile when you're out there fishing. So it's just another one of those things to keep in mind. And remember, fishyourassoff.com, the whole website is simple tips to help fishermen catch more fish. Well, here's some more tips. But this is very important. I think this is the most important. I mean, I think about smell all the time. That's why I always cover up instead of using any sunscreens or anything like that, because I don't want any of that stuff on my lures. Even if I bump it, I don't want any of that stuff. But I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. So until next time, we'll see you then. All right.